challenge of doing a children's message after an extensive reading like that. It's a tough transition, right? To take the passion story of God's love through Jesus' death and then to turn to the precious kids. But I just wanted to say that's our God. That wherever we are at in our life journey, that God is with us and for us. And the passion story that begins with these alleluias of our love for Jesus turns into the most amazing love story that ever has been recorded. Not just made up, but recorded. This love of God for you and for me. And so I ask on this Palm Sunday, in the midst of so much life and energy of our children, and all of you gathered here, as we are ready to participate in God's holy meal through communion, is that I ask these simple things are remembered. Most of the world, especially back during these times, different philosophies were existing, but the radical nature of Jesus dying is still confusing to all of us. It is confusing in the nature because back in these times of Greek and Roman gods, either the gods were amused by humankind and would come and visit once in a while, but then leave when they had had enough, or the gods were totally separate from. In fact, this world was viewed as so simple that it was beyond redemption. And Christian philosophy and Christian faith destroys those two images of either a God so distant that he is forgotten or a God that just comes in once in a while. This belief in Jesus Christ and his passion for you and for me is the highlight of our faith. A God who is for us all the way through every human experience of life and death. I'm trying to think about, why do we have such faith in a God who lost? Why do we have faith in a God who ends up dying? And this week we wrestle with that tension. We resolve it, of course, next week. When I was younger, I remember being kind of scared of Holy Week. My dad's a pastor, and so I just remember it was somber. And Good Friday, I certainly had a sense of, as a young child, of being scared. I'm no longer scared, but I certainly am thankful for God's love and for you and for me. And so I asked that question to worship on Palm Sunday. A God who dies for us is still a wonderfully counterintuitive way of God's love being made most clear. And so I've asked this question at the other services. In our Nelson household, for entertainment purposes only, Joe and Debbie and I are picking winners for the NCAA 68 teams, right? 68 teams? 64 now into it, and less and less. I would like to say that Debbie is doing a marvelous job. But I have a feeling Joe is going to win. But that's great, however that works. But the question kind of goes like this. How many of those 68 teams are going to end up losers? 67, right? Why would you ever engage in something in your life that you have a 1 out of 68 chance of winning? Why would you ever do that?
You end up being the 1 out of 68.
You could be the 1 out of 68. What do you call that? You call that... What's that? Yeah, you call that a winner. I agree with that. Yeah, I was looking for that word, hope. It's even slightly... I push it just a little bit more. Life for us is not a matter of a simple win. I mean, at the end of the game, at the end of what is the most important game in our life, which is our very lives itself, we end up dying, which is viewed as loss by everyone. And yet, as people of faith, because of what Christ has done, we do not look at that as losing. We look at that as a promise fulfilled that God will be with us. And so I look at those 67 teams. I've been kind of paying attention to, they have those wonderful press conferences when they stick a microphone into the losing coach's face and say, well, how do you feel now? And some are a little bit more perturbed than others, but I was so touched by one of the players for the team that had lost. And he gave thanks and he choked up because he knew how much it meant to be with these brothers playing the game and being involved with the game. And that is the hope for you and for me. We are not losers because of our end of our life and the imagery of death. We are winners because of what Christ has done. We can engage in life because Christ has gone all the way to death, even death on a cross. And this turning of what looks like defeat into the most marvelous expression of God's love that nothing can separate us from the love of God is an amazing message. I wanted to add one more highlight to this, is that this imagery that kept coming through the scriptures, why don't you save yourself if you're the Messiah, is wonderfully human, right? Save yourself, that'll show that you're powerful. And it's the love of God confounding us all, that the one who is able to save himself saved us by giving himself. What a wonderful God. What an amazing God. And so I ask for this Palm Sunday that this remembrance of the beauty of God's passion for you and me, God's love story that can never be defeated, never be extinguished, is one that rings true for you throughout this week. The promises of God are true. The passion of God's love is right for you and for me, and nothing can ever change the love of God all the way through our life, forever and ever. And for that, I give thanks to God. Amen. We've already done our Apostles' Creed, and so